Let's travel back in time together, not with the sharp jolt of a machine, but gently, as if drifting into a dream. The year is 541 AD. Picture the city of Constantinople, the unrivaled heart of a Roman Empire reborn. It is a city perched on the edge of two continents, a jewel of civilization that its emperor, Justinian I, is polishing to a blinding sheen. The air, thick with the aromas of cinnamon and clove from the eastern trade routes, mingles with the sharp, salty tang of the Sea of Marmara. Emperor Justinian is on the throne, a man of humble Balkan origins whose ambition is anything but. Under his watchful, restless gaze, the city is in a state of constant, glorious transformation. Grand churches, like the incomparable Hagia Sophia, its vast dome and architectural miracle, seemingly suspended from heaven itself, are rising to challenge the sky, symbols of a new and divinely favored golden age. Justinian's armies, led by brilliant generals like Belisarius, are on the march. They are executing a grand and audacious plan, the renovatio imperii, the restoration of the empire. The Vandal kingdom in North Africa has been swiftly conquered, and the long, arduous campaign to reclaim Italy from the Ostrogoths is underway. It is all fueled by Justinian's single, burning ambition: to erase the shame of the Western Empire's fall and restore the glory of a unified Rome, its dominions stretching once more across the entire Mediterranean. The future, from the marble-paved forums of the capital, looks as bright and solid as imperial gold. But far to the south, down on the bustling, sun-baked docks of Pelusium, a vital port in the Roman province of Egypt, something has boarded a grain ship headed for the capital. It is a silent, unseen passenger, hidden among the kernels of wheat that are the lifeblood of the empire. It carries no sword, no banner, but it is about to wage a war of annihilation, to bring this mighty, confident empire to its very knees. This is the story of Justinian's plague, a pestilence that would bleed the ancient world dry and change its course forever. So find a comfortable spot, dim the lights, and let's begin our tale. Before the shadow fell, Emperor Justinian's world was buzzing with an almost manic energy. He ruled from 527 to 565 AD, and he was a man who, by all accounts, never seemed to rest. His contemporary, the court historian Procopius, described him as an emperor who could work tirelessly through the day and long into the night, a man driven by an insatiable appetite for action. His reign was a whirlwind of activity. One of his first and most enduring acts was to overhaul the empire's entire legal system. For centuries, Roman law had become a confusing, contradictory tangle of decrees and opinions. Justinian appointed the Juris Tribonian to lead a commission to codify, clarify, and unify this vast body of law. The result was the Corpus Juris Civilis, or body of civil law, a monumental achievement that would form the basis of many legal systems in the Western world for centuries to come. Simultaneously, Justinian was a builder on an almost unimaginable scale. His projects included not just magnificent churches, but also monasteries, orphanages, bridges, and critical aqueducts. He poured imperial funds into fortifying the empire's vast frontiers and rebuilding entire cities devastated by earthquakes. His wars, the second great pillar of his reign, aimed at nothing less than the reconquest of the lost West. The swift campaign in North Africa in 533 to 534, led by his general Belisarius, crushed the Vandal kingdom and returned the province to Roman rule. The subsequent war to retake Italy from the Ostrogoths proved far more difficult and draining, a bloody slog that would last for decades. Still, by the early 540s, Roman authority was being re-established across the Mediterranean. The sea, for a fleeting moment, was once again becoming a Roman lake, its waters alive with ships carrying soldiers, administrators, silk, spices, and, most importantly, grain. Egypt was the empire's indispensable breadbasket. A constant, vital stream of ships sailed from the port of Pelusium on the Nile Delta to Constantinople, a maritime lifeline ensuring that the capital's enormous population, perhaps 500,000 residents, never went hungry. The grain dole was a cornerstone of imperial stability, but this intricate network, the very circulatory system of Justinian's grand project, was also its greatest vulnerability. It was a world humming with confidence, a society that truly believed it was on the cusp of recapturing a glorious past. Little did they know, the greatest threat wasn't a rival army from Persia, but something infinitesimally small, hiding in plain sight. The first whispers of trouble likely began far from Roman borders, perhaps in the grasslands of Central Asia or the heart of Africa, where the bacterium Yersinia pestis is thought to have originated. The disease was carried by fleas living on black rats, and it thrived in the warm, dark, food-rich holds of merchant ships. In 541 AD, the pestilence made its first documented appearance within the empire at the port of Pelusium. From there, it spread with terrifying speed, an invisible fire racing along the empire's own arteries. It followed the well-worn trade routes north to the great metropolis of Alexandria and east into Palestine and Syria. By the fall of that year, it had reached the great city of Antioch, and then, in the spring of 542, carried aboard the state-sponsored grain fleet, it arrived at its final destination, the glittering, unsuspecting capital of Constantinople. At first, nobody in Constantinople knew what was happening. It might begin with a sudden but mild fever, so slight that you wouldn't even think to take to your bed. The court historian Procopius, who witnessed the horror firsthand and documented it with chilling precision, wrote that many people had no idea of the mortal danger they were in. But then, on the same day or the next, the telltale sign would appear, a painful, hard swelling called a bubo. These agonizing growths emerged in the groin, the armpit, or behind the ears, on the lymph nodes working desperately to fight the overwhelming infection. From that point, the disease was terrifyingly and cruelly unpredictable. Procopius described how some victims would fall into a deep, endless sleep, a coma so profound they would lie unresponsive, needing to be fed and cared for by others until they wasted away. Others were gripped by a frantic delirium, their minds tormented by nightmares and delusions. They would run screaming through the streets, attempt to throw themselves from high places, or beg to be thrown into water, not from thirst, but from the madness that had seized them. For some, the end came within a day. For others, it was days of excruciating agony, as dark pustules or gangrene appeared on their bodies. Procopius wrote with a kind of exhausted horror that the sickness seemed to have no rules, taking each person in its own uniquely cruel way. He noted that physicians were baffled. With some patients they declared would certainly die making a full recovery, while others they believed would be saved perished almost immediately. As the plague tightened its grip on Constantinople, the city began to fall apart. At its peak, contemporary accounts, though possibly exaggerated, claimed that the death toll reached 5,000 and then an unthinkable 10,000 people every single day. The systems for dealing with the dead, so integral to Roman society, were completely overwhelmed. At first, burials proceeded with their usual rites, but soon there was no one left to perform the ceremonies and nowhere to put the bodies. The dead were left in the streets, turning the imperial capital into a vast open grave. An evil stench, as Procopius recalled, pervaded the city. Emperor Justinian, in a desperate attempt to manage the crisis, ordered huge pits to be dug across the Golden Horn to dispose of the corpses. But even those quickly overflowed. The state's intervention in burials was unprecedented. In desperation, bodies were stuffed into the stone towers that lined the city walls. The roofs were torn off, the dead were thrown in haphazardly, and quicklime was sometimes added to hasten decomposition. They were even loaded onto ships that were simply pushed out into the Sea of Marmara and abandoned to drift. The rhythm of daily life ground to a halt. The great markets fell silent. Craftsmen abandoned their workshops, and farmers failed to bring food into the city, leading to shortages. The once vibrant heart of the empire became a tomb, as law and order crumbled under the weight of so much fear and loss. Then, in the midst of the chaos in 542, the unthinkable happened. The emperor himself fell ill. The news sent shockwaves of panic across an empire already teetering on the brink. With their tireless emperor on his deathbed, the future of his restored Rome hung by a fragile thread. Yet, miraculously, against all odds, Justinian recovered. He would live, but he would now rule over a profoundly changed and deeply wounded world. When the first great wave of the plague finally began to recede around 549 AD, it left a scarred and hollowed-out empire in its wake. The true death toll is still a matter of intense debate among modern historians. Some scholars, taking cues from ancient writers like Procopius, suggest the pandemic was catastrophic, killing as many as 25 to 100 million people over 2 centuries of recurrence and wiping out a quarter to half of the population in the eastern Mediterranean. Others argue these figures are exaggerated and that the plague's impact, while severe in urban hotspots, was not as demographically devastating across the entire empire as once thought. Regardless of the exact numbers, the psychological damage was absolute. The world felt emptier, and the confidence of Justinian's early reign was shattered. The consequences were immediate and devastating. With so many dead, there was a severe labor shortage, which in turn led to a spike in the cost of labor. Farms failed, leading to widespread food shortages and rampant inflation. Justinian tried to freeze wages and prices at their pre-plague levels, but such decrees were impossible to enforce. The empire's tax base, which paid for Justinian's ambitious armies and vast building projects, collapsed. He was forced to demand that ruined landowners pay the taxes of their deceased neighbours, a policy that caused further desolation in the countryside. His grand campaign to reconquer Italy, which had been on the verge of success, completely faltered as disease gutted his armies and his treasury. The dream of a fully and permanently restored Roman Empire died with the plague's millions of victims. The plague weakened the Byzantine Empire at a critical moment, leaving it vulnerable to its great rival, the Sasanian Empire in Persia, and, a century later, the rising power of Arab armies united by Islam, who would go on to conquer the empire's richest provinces of Egypt and Syria. And we now know, thanks to the power of modern science, what the people of the 6th century could not. By analysing ancient DNA extracted from the teeth of plague victims found in grave sites from Germany to Jordan, researchers have definitively identified the culprit, Yersinia pestis. It is the very same species of bacterium that would later cause the Black Death in the 14th century. Genetic analysis has shown that the strain responsible for Justinian's plague was a unique branch that eventually died out, but it was no less deadly. For the next 200 years, the plague would return in recurring waves, striking different regions roughly every generation until the mid-8th century, making it impossible for the population to fully recover and casting a long, dark shadow over the early medieval world. It was a grim, recurring reminder of how easily the grandest human plans can be undone. Justinian's plague did not cause the Roman Empire to fall overnight, but it did mark the true, definitive end of the ancient world. It shattered a society that had, for one brilliant moment, seemed on the verge of a glorious rebirth. The pandemic brutally exposed just how fragile a complex, interconnected world can be, revealing how the very trade routes that brought wealth and grain could also deliver swift and silent death. It left a legacy of fear and uncertainty that would echo for centuries. This pandemic stands as the first of its kind in recorded history, a somber bedtime story written not in books, but in the bones of its millions of victims. The world that emerged from its shadow was different, more fractured, more fearful, and standing on the unfamiliar threshold of the Middle Ages. Thank you for joining me on this journey into the past. If you found this story a calming and interesting companion for your evening, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel for more tales from our shared history. I'd also love to hear from you, so feel free to leave a comment and let me know where you're listening from tonight. Until next time, may your rest be peaceful.